Fantasy Football Podcast with your host, Nick Anderson.
What is up, Dynasty Degenerates? This is your host, Nick Anderson, with the Down and Dirty Dynasty Fantasy Football Podcast, or as you all know it, the Triple D FFP. Today, we're going to be doing a continuation of our wide receiver and running back bracket challenge, okay? Getting pretty deep into this thing, all right? And today, as you guys have seen on the Twitter page, as you guys remember from last episode, we're going to be doing some of my favorite head-to-head matches, okay? So with the running backs, we're going to be doing Keyshawn Vaughan versus Zack Moss. And then with the wide receivers, we're going to be going over Denzel Mims and Henry Ruggs. To start off with, I hope that I find all of my followers safe, healthy, staying at home, drinking beer. As you guys know, not sponsored by Busch Light yet, but we will be soon. Be cracking some Busch Lights with y'all today, so I hope you guys are drinking along while you're watching. Hope you find yourself safe. But let's get into this today. As you can see right here, we have got our running back bracket, okay? So you can see we've got a couple rounds down, and we're starting to get into the nitty-gritty of this. So where I was talking about a broad spectrum of these players at the start of this, we're starting to narrow it down, okay? So I've already talked about like the superficial facts of some of these guys. So now we're going to be talking about things that I see on tape, like the minute differences that make these guys an edge above the other player, you know? So while I've talked in the past about like the broad things, we're going to be talking about not only just stuff I see on tape, we're going to be talking about the feels that I get from these guys. Because honestly, when you're looking at, I mean, if you're in a draft room as a fucking GM or something like that, there are certain vibes that you get off players. And that's the stuff that kind of, you know, might make all the difference when you're picking these guys. And the same thing comes for fantasy football, you know. If you see something that you like in a guy, like a little X factor, like a little blip that you saw that you thought that made him above the other dude, that could be the difference between drafting a guy that's 5 years down the road, an all-star, and somebody who's washed out of the league. So we're going to be talking about, you know, tape stuff. We're going to go into breakout age. We're going to be doing target shares of their college careers. We're going to start talking about injury histories and all of that stuff. So we're going to start to get into the minute nitty-gritty of these players. So let's start it off. Show you guys the bracket right here. For the first matchup that we're going to be doing, we're going to be going over Zack Moss and Keyshawn Vaughan. So let's start it off with Zack Moss, okay? You guys know from the past, he came from Utah. He's 22.3 years old, 5'9", and 223 pounds. And that 223 pounds, as I've talked about before, that translates into a bruising fucking running back, man. Stat that I saw today is that he is second in this draft class amongst his peers with missed tackles, okay? He had 87 forced missed tackles in his 2019 season. And this dude he does not go down on first contact. He's a damn bowling ball, man. I mean, his center of gravity, his ability to keep his legs moving, all of those things are elite, okay? Not taking anything away from Zack Moss there. He is a fucking stud when it comes to between the tackles running. But when you see him between the tackles and he's breaking all that stuff, sometimes it makes me a little bit worried that he is breaking tackles that he doesn't have to break. Okay, one of the big things that I've got on him is that he just is not, he doesn't have the vision that he should have. He's having to break tackles because there's a wide open gap over here on the right-hand side, but he's taking the fucking tackle on the left. And 9 times out of 10, it's working for the guy. You know, he's got the ability to do that, but breaking the tackle and getting tackled 4 yards down the field as opposed to getting 15 yards through an open gap, that doesn't impress me much. Shania Twain, shout out. All right, but you know he kind of lacks that elusiveness also. Like I talked about in previous episodes, if he's not hitting the gap, if he's not attacking the hole that he shouldn't be and running into a defender and just blowing him the fuck up, he's trying to get too cute behind the line, and this kind of plays into that whole vision thing as well. He gets too cute behind the line, and I've said before, with his 4.65 fucking 40, he does not have the ability to be as elusive or as quick to the edge as everybody else does. So he doesn't have the creativity, and when he tries to become fucking, you know, Da Vinci back there, he can't get to the edge. So it's a real problem for me. I mean, he just, He is the prototypical first and second down back for me, and I just don't know if that's going to cut it when it comes to the next level. And now I think that he's going to be able to break tackles at the next level, no question. But is that going to be somebody that you want to draft high, or you want to wait a little bit on? Like that's the stuff that we're getting into now. I have no question that Zach Moss is going to be a producer in the NFL at some level. But the question that I'm asking now is what level is he going to produce at? So let's kind of go into his combine one more time. We've talked about it in the past, but he ran a 4.65 40. He had a 33-inch vertical. And the one thing that I really like about him is that he had a 4.37 short shuttle, okay? So we're talking, what is that? 2.8 tenths of a second off of his 40, which is a good thing that I like to see. So it shows that he has that lateral agility. I just don't know if he's ever able to put that onto the field, you know? It's one of those things that people can have all the combine numbers that they want. Christine Michael blew up the fucking combine, but look at him. He's not even doing anything in the XFL. Okay, you can be the athlete that you want, but if you can't put it all together, if your body won't allow you to do that, then we got some problems here. Let's look at his 2019 stats. He had 235 carries with 1,416 rushing yards, 15 touchdowns, 28 receptions on 388 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns, okay? So, talked about it before. Zach Moss had 388 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns his senior year, which is a great number, okay? I'm ecstatic about that, but all of those receptions were checkdowns, screens, shit like that. He doesn't have a diverse route tree. He doesn't have great hands. He was just a product of being in a system that appreciated to check down to the running back. And now a bunch of people can get themselves into those kind of systems, you know? I mean, Carlos Hyde, when he was playing for San Francisco, had a huge stat line for receptions, but we all know Carlos Hyde ain't got them fucking hands, you know? It's all about the system that you're putting in. I don't think that if Zach Moss finds himself in a system that isn't just going to automatically check down to him, that he's going to produce those kind of receiving numbers. So don't let those things cloud your judgment on him. He's a decent receiving back, not elite by any means whatsoever. Okay, but when you look at him, I mean, there is the great thing is I talked about those 87 missed tackles, a second in this draft class. He's Utah's all-time leading rusher. Okay, so for whatever that means to you, he's the all-time leading rusher in Utah history. The guy just had a huge fucking collegiate career. When you look at his breakout age, the thing that you want to see with breakout age is the younger the better. And he was 19.7 years old when he had breakout. And that kind of means that he's going to adapt well to a new system. It shows that it didn't take him a bunch of time to be able to get up and running when it came to a new system when he was going from high school to college. And the theory behind that is that if it didn't take him long to transition from high school to college, it won't take him long to transition from college to the NFL. So that's why, you know, Breakout Finder and all that stuff shows those early breakout ages as being an indicator of great NFL success. But it's not always the truth, okay? I think that Zach Moss's his collegiate production is perfect for a college system, and I'm not 100% sure if it's going to translate entirely into the NFL, but we'll see. So, I mean, like I said, he's a great prospect. He's a bruiser, tackle breaker. He's got decent hands. He's obviously adaptable by his young breakout age. The one thing that I didn't also mention in here is that the guy has a little bit of a hairy injury history, okay? As I'm showing here, he had a toe injury in 2016. He had 2 shoulder injuries over his collegiate career, one in 2017, one in 2019. He had a sprain in both ankles in 2018. He had a knee injury in 2018, getting out of bed. Dude was getting out of bed, messed up his fucking knee, couldn't come back for the season. And then he also tweaked his hammy at the combine. I don't know the severity of that injury, but that's just noteworthy right there. So when you look at these guys that are these bruising running backs, the ones that are just fucking crushing it, you got to ask yourself, can they handle the workload? And if you're seeing a guy like Zach Moss who has all of these injuries, it might be an indicator that once he gets to the next level, he might not be able to hold up. He might be breaking down. But that's just something to put in your back pocket. Zach Moss is a great prospect, okay? I think he's going to have NFL production. But the question that we got to ask ourselves is, what level of production is that going to be with the pros and cons of his tackle breaking versus his lack of vision, his explosion versus his injury history. So we got to play that out. And I guess we're really going to get down to the nitty gritty of it when we get to his opponent here, Keyshawn Vaughan. Okay? So Keyshawn Vaughan is 22.9 years old. He's 5'10", 214 pounds. He's a Vanderbilt product, okay? And before that, he came from Illinois. So, Keyshawn Vaughn for me is just I love the dude. I love watching him. He's a very exciting player. Okay, he just seems well rounded to me. When I watch him, he's got that nice combination of tackle breaking ability with lateral quickness, slipperiness. He's got the spin moves. He's got one of the nastiest stiff arms that you'll see in this draft class. So he's just got that good mix of he's got okay hands. His hands aren't great, okay, but he kind of showed up his senior year. Senior year, he had 28 receptions for 161 receiving yards. It's something I would put him and Zach Moss are right there with receiving chops. Okay, Zach Moss had a lot more production, but I think he had a lot more availability of it as well. So I mean, neither of them are winning any fucking awards for the hands that they put out there. Okay. But Keyshawn Vaughn just seems to do everything right. He's got that level of aggression, the shiftiness. Like I said, he can put a spin move on somebody. He can put a stiff arm on somebody. And then we look at his 40 times. When we're looking at his 40 times and his combine numbers, he had a 4.51 second 40, okay? 32-inch vertical. The vertical is not, it's not blowing anybody off the page, but it's not terrible. He didn't run the short shuttle. I don't know why he didn't run the short shuttle. I wish he would have, because I really would have liked to see, because I think this guy does have that explosiveness. I think that he could have put something together on that short shuttle. But a 4.51 40 compared to Zach Moss's 4.65 40 shows me, and the tape shows me, that he's got the ability to improvise in the backfield and still get to the edge. I mean, we're looking at guys like Dalvin Cook who ran a similar 40, and they've got all the ability to be able to get there. It's that pad speed, it's that game speed when they get all the shit on them. And I think Keyshawn Vaughn's got that X factor with him. But I mean, he's just the one thing that I don't like about him entirely is that he is older, man. I mean, he is 22.9 years old. He's a redshirt senior, okay? So, I mean, he's had 5 years of college under his belt. You look at somebody like a Christian McCaffrey, I think he's only less than a year younger than Christian McCaffrey. And Caff's got all those years of production in the NFL. So that scares me, but the one thing that I do like to see about him is that we were talking about the younger the better on the breakout age. He was 18.3 years old when he broke out, okay? When he broke out at Illinois, he had 157 rushes for 723 yards, 6 touchdowns, 16 receptions, and 89 receiving yards. So it was a lower-end breakout. It wasn't like he was blowing anybody off the page, but I mean, we saw that he could transition from a high school system to a higher competition system and be able to transition with ease and show quality production, The one thing that does suck about that is that you see a lull the next year. In his sophomore year when he was at Illinois, Lovie Smith comes in. He gets some competition. He gets knocked down to the 3rd spot on the depth chart at Illinois, and he decides, fuck this, okay? So he leaves Illinois and decides to go to Vanderbilt, back to his home state, okay? But he had to redshirt a year because of the transfer eligibility, and they had 2 more years with Vanderbilt, which he had an abundance of production. He had a dip in his senior year, but I'm not worried about that. His senior year, like you can see on the graphic right here, he put up 198 rushing yards, 198 carries on 1,028 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns, 28 receptions, and 161 receiving yards. So, I mean, he was putting it together. And, he looks like a guy that I want on a team. One thing that I've seen, there's been a lot of NFL Twitter buzzing about how James Conner's not going to be the starting running back in 2020. And I agree. I don't think that he showed anything that tells me that he can be an elite. I mean, he's been an elite, but nothing that shows me that he can be a consistent producer at that position with the Steelers. And if Keyshawn Vaughn goes to somebody like the Steelers, dude, watch the fuck out, because this guy is going to be a fucking baller. So, I mean, that's somebody that I like. The other thing that I dig about him, and it's just like I was talking about earlier, the feel of players, the little things that make you want to like them, is this dude, he fumbled, you'll see the clip right here, but he fumbled the ball. It wasn't even really a fumble. He got bent over and the ball came loose. That was already down on contact. But after that, he got out and did push-ups on the field. And that kind of shit just tells me that he's a coachable player, that he's a disciplined player, all of those things. And so just final notes on him, dynamic. I think that he's going to be one of my favorite steals in this year's draft. He has a willingness to bet on himself. He has a confidence in himself. You know, when you see him move from Illinois to Vanderbilt, you see that he believes that he's the shit and that he can do it. But then there's that arrogance level, but it's also brought down to earth with the shit that I'm seeing when he's doing push-ups out on the field. So he believes in himself, but he's got a respect for the organization. And that kind of yin and yang, you know, that's what I like to see in somebody, because that's what makes it. You got to have arrogance, but you got to have respect too. And so I just think that the guy's got a high football IQ. He's got great vision. He's got great explosion. All of those things, lackluster hands, but everything else is just fantastic for Keyshawn Vaughan. Okay? So when it comes down to which one we're going to pick, I got to go Keyshawn Vaughan. I love the dude. Zach Moss is a fucking bruiser, and I think he's going to be a producer in the NFL. He's a little bit younger, you know. He's got that truck stick capability. But when I look at Keyshawn Vaughan, I like my running backs to be able to do everything on the field. And Zach Moss just doesn't offer me that potential, you know. And when I watch Keyshawn Vaughan, I see that X factor. I see that ability to be an elite running back in the NFL, even if he is a little bit older. And so that's why he's going on to the winner's bracket for me. Zach Moss is going down the loser's bracket, unfortunately. But I'm sure we're going to be seeing Zach Moss rise up from the loser's bracket. Only time will tell, though. So, let's move on. We're going to our wide receivers bracket now. Our wide receivers that we're facing off for each other today is Denzel Mims and Henry Ruggs, okay? So, like I've talked about before, I've been pushing Henry Ruggs down my board. I feel kind of bad about it because everybody's telling me that he needs to be up on it, but I've been pushing him down, and I've been pushing Denzel Mims up. But let's just start off with, Henry Ruggs, okay? So looking at Ruggs, let me get back to that page here. He is 21.2 years old. That's a great thing. I love seeing how young he is because it tells me that he's got a lot of time to produce, a lot of time to mature, a lot of time to grow in the NFL. But when we look at that 21.2 years old, we go down and look at his breakout age. And unfortunately, Henry Ruggs never broke out in his collegiate system. Now, there's a lot of excuses what we can talk about why Henry Ruggs never broke out. You know, he had a really congested system, a lot of talent on that team with Jerry Jeudy above him and everybody else around him, you know. But a guy like this, a guy that everybody's toting as this elite player, should have broken out at some point. He should have demanded a share of those targets, a share of those yards, a share of those touchdowns. And now it's not to say that he didn't put stuff together. In 2019, as you guys can see here, he had 40 receptions, so low receptions, but 746 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns, and then he had 2 rushes for 75 yards and a touchdown. Now, the better season for him was... Oh, I'm lying. 2018 wasn't a better season. I thought it was. But he commanded 13.1% share of the target share for the team, and he had a 75.5% catch rate, okay? So the kid's got good hands. There's no arguing that he's got good hands. There's no arguing the other thing about him that I should have brought up just at first is that dude's just a fucking speedster. Like this guy, he's elite, but he's just faster than elite, you know? I mean, running the 4.27 that he ran is just out of this fucking world. And the fact that accompanied with that 4.27, he has the stop-start capability that these other speedsters in the NFL just don't seem to be able to produce. He's got that ability to be able to stop on a dime, to have body control while he's moving that fast down the field. And it's just, it's a thing to watch, man. It's a thing of beauty. So you can see on some of the clips right here that he can stop whenever he wants. He can move his body whenever he wants. It's just fucking bonkers what this guy is able to do with the speed that he's moving down the field. And he doesn't even look like he's moving that fast. He's a little bit slow off the line, which is crazy for how fast he is, but he doesn't have that aggression off the line. But aside from that, you know, Henry Ruggs he's fast, he's explosive, he's agile, and he's not soft. That's the other thing that I like about him. For being a small guy, I guess we didn't talk about his size metrics. He's 5'11", 188 pounds. The one great thing about him is that he's got 10 and an eighth inch hands. Those are big ass hands for a guy his size. But for the size metrics that he's putting out there, he's not a soft wide receiver. Okay, so he's not afraid to jump into contact. Often he just doesn't have to, because he's so damn fast. And that's the other thing that I didn't get to see about him is that I never got to see his hands. I never got to see the capability of him to make a circus catch, to have to adjust in air and all that stuff because he is so fast. He's making that huge separation. He gets a dime ball to him, throw him from Tua, and then it's just golden. We don't have to worry about it anymore. But it worries me in the NFL because the biggest negative about Henry Ruggs is that when the D-backs get on top of him, when they get him in press coverage and they got their hands on him, he cannot fight to overcome that. And that's something that he's going to have to handle in the NFL. I hope that it's something that he can beat. I hope that it's something that he can overcome, but I'm just not certain that he's going to be able to get over these big-bodied, D-backs that are going to be pressing up on him when he couldn't do it in college. So, I mean, Henry Ruggs, elite speed. He can play X wide receiver. He can play the slot. He can play out of the backfield. Like we saw, he had those 2 carries for 75 yards and a touchdown. The dude just, I mean, you can't defend against him. You can't scheme against him because your defenders just can't get fucking back there. So he's an X factor player who has the elite speed to be able to get around people. He's got the aggression to be able to go at people, not to blow through people, but to go at people. He's got that stop-start capability. The only problem with him is that I haven't seen how he can handle contested catch situations that well, and that when the D-backs get on top of him and they're pressing him, I don't know if he has the ability to overcome it. We already talked about his 2019 stat line. The last thing that I'll put out there, we talked about his speed, but he had a peak field speed of 24.3 miles per hour. So for context of that, though, that is 1.1 miles an hour faster than the fastest recorded time that we've seen in the last couple of years, which was Tyreek Hill out there on the field. So this dude, when you see Tyreek Hill, I'm not saying that he's a prototype for Tyreek Hill, but what I'm saying is that when you see Tyreek Hill out there moving, he's making people look like they're standing still. When Damian Williams is running that touchdown and Tyreek Hill is catching up from him from 15 yards behind, that's the kind of speed that we're talking about with Henry Ruggs right here. Now, he's not as thick as Tyreek. He's not as aggressive as Tyreek. I haven't seen him have that jump ball capability like him, but he is somebody that I would compare to like a Mecole Hardman. I've already said that for you guys. So, I mean, he's great. Henry Ruggs is a baller. But we got to go on to his competition, which is Denzel Mims. Okay? Now, Denzel Mims, like a lot of these ones that we're talking about with Henry Ruggs, he's the opposite, He's 22.5 years old, but he is 6'3", 207 pounds with 9 3/8 inch hands. Now, that's the one crazy thing about this is that Denzel Mims, he's got strong-ass fucking hands, man. He's able to pluck that ball up out of the air, but he's got them small hands compared to Henry Ruggs. Henry Ruggs with that 10 1/8 inch hands has some big-ass hands for his size. But Denzel Mims, like I said, he's 6'3", 207 with 9 3/8 inch hands, and the guy is just a fucking beast. Okay, the one thing that just kind of made him pop off the page for everybody was his combine results. Man, at his size, his weight, he ran a 4.3840. That's in like the 95th percentile or something like that of size adjusted scores. He had a 38.5 inch vertical and ran a 4.43 short shuttle. I don't like that the short shuttle went up, but with him, I mean, a 4.48 or 4.43 is still a great short shuttle for a guy his size. In 2016 or 2019, his stat line, he had 66 receptions for 1,020 receiving yards and 12 touchdowns. He didn't have any rushes, nothing like that. But he had a breakout age as opposed to Henry Ruggs, who had no breakout age, never just popped off the screen. Denzel Mims he was 19.9 years old when he had his breakout. And like I said, we led the younger the better on those breakout ages, and that was when he had 61 receptions for 1,087 receiving yards, a 25.1% target share, and a 52.6% catch rate with 8 touchdowns. Okay, so that's not a small breakout. That's a damn good year for a fucking sophomore. Okay, that's a sophomore year, and he's doing that. It just shows me that the guy is highly adaptable. Okay, he doesn't have a full route tree, so that's one knock against him. He does not have a full route tree, but what he does do, the litany of routes that he does run, he is exceptional at. and he uses his size and his speed to be able to accomplish that. The other thing that I'll say about him, though, is that Mims just doesn't attack the ball. I said he's got those strong hands, and he can win in contested catch scenarios, and he does, but he just does not attack the ball like I would like him to. Lets him come into him too easy, and he's got his route running is crisp. His break off the line. He was a high school, and I'm not sure if it was collegiate, but I know it was at least high school track star, and so his ability to be able to burst off the line is second to none. And that's one thing that I love about him is there's aggression in all of the routes that he does. He makes everything look quick, aggressive, and concise. But with all of that said, and he makes that separation, he gets those good routes. Once the ball comes to him, he lets it come into him, and that's going to be a negative in the NFL. I don't know. I mean, that's something that he's going to have to work with the receiver coach on and get better at. But we're looking at it. I mean, he's, he had an early breakout age, which means that he's adaptable over Henry Ruggs. He didn't have any huge regressions in those years after that breakout age either. He just kept consistently putting years together and just showing that he was a fucking boss. He's a monster who wowed at the combine, and I think he's going to be a monster at the next level, And so when we come down to him or Henry Ruggs, well, I think that Henry Ruggs has that elite speed. He's got that stop-start capability. He's got a little bit of aggression in him, And I think that he could be a good player in the NFL. If he's going to be a good fantasy player, that'll be a good question. But he's going to be a great piece for an NFL team. Denzel Mims is the one moving forward, man, because he's got that big body. I told you before, I like my wide receivers big. He's got the aggression. He's got the route running capabilities. He's got the speed as well. So all of the stuff that Henry Ruggs does well, Denzel Mims does well also, but he's got 6'3", 6'3", 207 pounds to back that up. So Denzel Mims is moving forward. Henry Ruggs is falling by the wayside. He's going down to the loser's bracket, but like I said with everybody, I'm sure we're going to see him moving his way up. So let's take a look here. We're looking at the wide receiver because we're on him right now. The wide receiver winners bracket, we're going to be moving on to Justin Jefferson versus Denzel Mims in the next round. We're going to have that episode coming out on Sunday. So Justin Jefferson versus Denzel Mims. And then with the running back winners bracket, we're going to be having Clyde Edwards-Helaire versus Keyshawn Vaughan. I mean, these things are getting closer and closer and closer. And like I said, we're going to be having to argue about razor-thin margins. When we're into these people, I mean, these guys are they're all going to be possibly great NFL players, Obviously, landing spot's going to depend on all of them. But we're going to have to get really, really nitty-gritty about what we're analyzing with these people. So, I mean, those are my picks. I hope you guys like them. Hope you guys are staying safe. If you guys have any opinions on this podcast, if you think I'm doing good, if you think I'm doing shit, let me know, because I just want to make this thing as good as I can for you guys, because I love putting these podcasts out. So, give me your feedback, like, share, and subscribe, the Twitter page, the Instagram, the YouTube page, all of that stuff. Just make sure that you're available, because I'm going to be coming out with one on Sunday. The closer we get, the draft's 3 weeks away, guys. And so that's going to make the difference for all of this, but I'm trying to get the information out there pre-draft so we know where everybody stands, and then we can base their landing spot upon that. So let me know what you guys think, because I want to get this out to you guys. We're going to finish up these brackets before the draft. Hope you all like it, and if you don't, fuck it, and probably don't listen to me, because I'm drunk.